so professional.
Hey, man, you know.
Got your clap.
I'm trying to do. Who told you I had clap? Goddamn liars. Who have you been talking to, man? That's not true. Like one time. It doesn't mean you have it forever. It's not a death sentence, dude. It's like one freaking time. What a dick. Well, cheers. Yeah, get your get your cans on.
You get an STD one time. Suddenly you got.
I've thankfully, since you brought it up, I've not ever, I've never gotten one.
Same.
Right?
Same.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks for coming.
Cheers.
I'm
Thanks for
trying.
having me.
Yeah, bless you. It's cool that you're here. Okay, so
That's nice.
I'm gonna do a little intro
Okay.
for the people that don't know who you are.
Yeah.
We're not brothers.
Probably everyone.
You
Dude,
can't
for real.
put your feet up here.
Yeah.
I got like little
Trying to
footy.
go a little closer.
Yeah, man, just you settle into the whole
Yeah,
deal.
there we
Okay,
go.
Sweet. All right, so
Fantastic.
So Jason Sowell married my wife and I.
Yes.
Okay, so he's many
Well,
things.
let's clarify. I officiated your wedding. I didn't marry. We're not in a three-way marriage.
This is very true.
Yeah.
So you officiated.
I officiated your
you married
wedding.
us.
Yeah,
It
I
feels-
married. Okay. Yeah, just to clarify.
You married us.
I married you.
Okay, and then 2 months later, the world fucking shut down.
That's wow. That's
So
right.
do you?
It was.
So do you feel at all responsible for this, or because we could. I don't know if some of the words you said while beautiful, maybe casted some sort of spell, some pandemic spell.
Yeah.
Or if there was some sort of wizardry.
Yeah. I like that you think it's me officiating and not the fact that you got married.
Yeah, definitely not us. Well, look, so Pam and I forgive you. Because we're Christians.
Well, I'm not referring to Pam. I'm referring to you got married.
Yeah.
You specifically got married.
I did.
And the world cracked.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I didn't think of it that way. I like it. I'm gonna start thinking of it in different ways, but no, I didn't think about it. Yeah, but so again, pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Businesses shut down.
Yep.
People were outside spreading their buttholes into the sun to try to get more vitamin D. True story. There was a lot of craziness. People were wiping down Amazon packages with Clorox wipes.
And their fruit, not just.
And their fruit. And, the president at the time said, let's try putting bleach in your bones or whatever he said.
Yeah.
And then, bozos were hoarding toilet paper, the great toilet paper shortage of, 20 bubba da bum.
2020.
Yeah, whatever freaking year that.
2020, yeah.
I don't know. There's so many years of chaos. And then everyone started to, learn how to make sourdough starter. I was one of them. I can make you some killer bread. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like the world.
Yeah.
So you officiated our wedding. It was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's not how
I did a good job. I know.
I think it was very nice.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Oh, which brings me to later in the show. Have you ever read your reviews on what's your wedding link on your website?
Oh, you're probably referring to Wedding Wire.
Wedding Wire.
Yes.
It is. That's what I'm doing. So I found some reviews.
Okay.
They're very funny. We should read them. I found the best of the
man.
best. But we'll
Okay.
get to that later.
Let's do that.
But anyways, okay, so the world shuts down. Meanwhile, you're out there
Yeah.
slanging laundry detergent.
Slinging quarters.
So names of the show. Can I run them by you?
Yeah.
'Cause
Lay
it
'em
feels
on me.
good.
Yeah, what do
Okay,
you
so the
got?
first one was Hope, dealer in the streets, pastor in the sheets. Yeah? Okay.
That's great.
You like it, right?
That's so
It feels
good.
felt appropriate.
Uh-huh.
Let me get a hit of that hope.
I'd like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Because you're a hope dealer?
Yeah.
How about this? Hope on in to the incredible world of Jason Sowell.
Not bad. Yeah, not
Okay,
bad.
okay. Pimps up, hopes down. Yeah? That one feels right. They all have their
so
own.
good.
But are you familiar with the documentary Pimps Up, Hose Down?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Many, many years ago.
Yeah.
But I liked Pimps Up, Hopes Down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt good.
That is good. Those are creative. Those are really good. I'll
I'm
be
not-
honest.
I'm
I'll be
not sure.
honest. I think my favorite. God, those first two are really good.
Yeah.
Let me get a hit of that hope. But
Yeah. No, but you got to say it like,
hope
yo.
yeah.
Let me
Hope,
get a
hope in the
hit.
streets. Pastor in the sheets.
So I was going to go preacher in the sheets, but you're not. Like, preacher for me feels southern and black, which is fine. But I feel like pastor is more like Caucasian and tight jeans. And young.
Good
You know what I'm saying?
point. So how I came up in the South,
Sure.
not in a black church, but in the South, preacher is appropriate. That was what everyone used. It wasn't pastor. We called them we called him preacher.
Okay.
That's how we referred to him.
So when did pastor become?
Here's my
down.
here's my theory. Here's my
Okay.
theory.
Yeah.
So you have this progression, late 90s, early 2000s, away from your more traditional denominational type stuff, and then you end up with the and I started one of these churches. You end up in like the casual, non-denominational. We've got a rock band on stage. The pastor's in tight jeans, that kind of stuff. I think because pastor sounds more professional, it sounds more corporate. It sounds more like CEO. Not just the guy in charge.
Yeah.
CEO sounds more professional. Pastor sounds more professional than preacher. Preacher has the connotation of we're here to no pun intended, dog on your life. We're here to preach down at you. Pastor sounds more inviting than preacher. But in the South, those two hand in hand. Preacher
so
preacher
one and
is
the
a
same.
sign of respect. If you get called preacher in the streets, that's respect.
Well, what about in the sheets?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know.
Oh, he's a preacher in the sheets. I don't know what that means. Sounds biblical. Sounds good.
That's true.
But but are you still a pastor or a former pastor? Because in my notes I have former pastor.
Yeah, here's what I say. Sure. What I tell people is it's like being a doctor. You're always a doctor, whether you work for a practice or a hospital. Yeah. You're never not a doctor. It's the same kind of thing. You're always that profession. To me, you're always a pastor, preacher, whatever term you want to put on it, minister. Regardless of whether you're employed by a church or a ministry.
Sure.
Like, it is what it is. Like, but I also have philosophically, not to get into all this, but theologically.
We can't. That's why we're here. Get into it.
There is, we spend in that world, in church world, I went to Bible college, went to seminary, we spend a lot more time getting people focused on the career side of it rather than the calling/curiosity of it. Right. So for me, for example, I went from being a pastor of a church that started a couple churches in Tampa and then leaving that. And I was working part-time at Starbucks. The first time around, I was really embarrassed about it. Second time around working at Starbucks, I had landed on the mentality that like, oh, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I am just as much a pastor in this environment as if I was working for a church, being employed by a church. Actually, probably even more so in this environment as a barista at a coffee shop. I'm doing the same things but what we associate being a pastor with is being on stage, pulpit, talking to a crowd of people.
Passing around a G-Zit and some grape juice.
Right, yeah.
Sounds like the whole thing. Yeah.
That's what we associate with, oh, that person's a pastor. Yeah. But in reality, pastors are shepherds. They're counselors. They are counselors, they're therapists, they're advice givers, they're a sounding board, they're all of that. And it just happens to be the person that knows about Scripture and applying Scripture to those things that they're being talked to about.
Sure.
That's what being a pastor is to me.
So you still
I
are.
would still categorize
so
myself. I'm still a pastor.
Okay.
I'm just not employed by a church.
So you're pastored. Because
yes.
you don't have a church.
Right.
You're a
exactly.
pastor.
Yeah.
But do you still actively speak any given Sunday?
Sometimes.
If invited.
Not as much. If I'm invited, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in. Not as much as I used to. I don't know for any specific reason, but just not as much as I used to. I don't get asked to as much these days.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Why do you think that is? I'm just kidding.
Great question. I could go down a rabbit hole of that.
No. Well, I imagine that parishioners want. So Watermark's a perfect example. I've seen you speak at Watermark.
Yeah.
You weren't the regular pastor. You were, I guess, it called a guest speaker or guest pastor.
Yeah.
A stand-in, but I would imagine that regular parishioners of any institution want the guy or the or the person, right? Like, I don't know what Joel Osteen's numbers are, but I'm sure when like Rick gets up there, they're like, oh, whatever, Rick. Where's Joe? Bring Joe out. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I honestly, my take on it is depends on the type of environment you've created.
Sure.
Granted, a lot of churches create an environment of the lead pastor is That's the final authority. That's the guy everyone wants to hear from. It's by design. So parishioners take it that way, right?
Sure.
Some places I think are really good at understanding this is not a cult of personality. The lead pastor is the current shepherd of this place.
Sure.
And oftentimes that particular pastor also understands they may not be the best communicator.
Sure.
They might be the best leader and the best shepherd and the best pastor, but they may not be the best communicator for that environment. So they will design a scenario that I am sharing this stage presence, this pulpit with multiple people that are better at this than me, that are clearer communicators, that are better at it. And that takes a lot of self-assuredness. That takes, and I hate to say this, but actually I don't hate to say it. It's true by experience in most of my life. Pastors are some of the most insecure people I've ever met. And
interesting.
There is, they design a space, they design a place on stage for them where they get the accolades because they need it. And
so it's like an ego. It's like an ego thing.
There's a lot of ego involved. There's also there's been scientific studies on this. There's actually been therapeutic studies about so spending time on a stage. So if you do that regularly, let's say on a weekly basis, you're on a stage, your body gives off the same chemical reactions to that crowd reception, all of that. Your body gives off the same things that a drug addict goes through. So eventually your body,
dopamine hit?
Yeah, the same kind of dopamine hits.
Really?
Right. Yeah. So what happens is
that kind of makes sense, I guess, because when I was in a band, but here's the thing, I hated it. I used to sing with my eyes closed because I had like incredible stage fright. Like 43, I still bite my fingernails. I have like this battle of anxiety and like self-deprecating. That's where the humor comes from. Is I'm just gonna laugh my way through everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, makes sense.
It's safe. That's a safe.
Absolutely.
But anyway,
it's so there's two things at play. So your body, they've kind of likened, equated an hour of public speaking on a stage has the same physical and mental stress of working an 8-hour day at just like a desk job or just all everything your body's going through chemically, mentally, emotionally in that scenario. And then especially if you have a very receptive crowd and you're good at it, it becomes this dopamine hit that your body goes through. So what happens is over time, your body starts reacting the same way that a drug addict's body does to whatever drug that they are addicted to. You have this, and you see it with pastors all the time. I've worked in that world for years. You see this Sundays, this really big high, and especially if you have multiple services. Let's say you've got three or four services. You're on that stage. I've done it. I've done 5 services
in a day.
In a 4, 1 on a Saturday night, and then 4 on a Sunday morning.
Jeez.
Or 3 on a Sunday morning, and then 1 Sunday afternoon.
And the same message, or just because the groups of people are different?
No, same message.
But, so different. Some people want to get up at 9.
Correct.
Some people aren't going to get there till 11.
Yeah, it's the same service, same message.
Some people, it's like, I can't be bothered with the Lord till 2.
Right, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
And he gets it. Yeah. Big guns, I'm busy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So,
all right, so
your body,
four
your body crashes.
Dude.
Yeah, like your body crashes. So Monday is this hangover, essentially, because your body's so exhausted, you're mentally exhausted, you're emotionally exhausted. And then what a lot of churches do, which I think is a terrible idea, is Monday is like staff meeting day. It's like all staff, right? Like that's a terrible day to have an all staff because not only
let's make Monday the Sabbath, and everybody takes a knee.
Yeah, exactly. Because you think about it, not only is that lead pastor, that teaching pastor, whoever it was, is just exhausted all the way around.
Sure.
Your staff is exhausted because they've been working.
They were there all weekend.
They've been working. They may not have been on stage, but they have been doing everything else, right?
Sure. And plus whatever else you had going on this weekend, most churches are like, hey, there's a youth group, there's there's a feed of a family.
Sure.
There's all sorts of shit going down.
Yeah, exactly. So your one thing that I learned from my mentor that was a pastor, one of the things he used to say is never make decisions when you're tired or hungry.
Yeah.
Like when you're exhausted, you make the worst decisions. You react terribly, all kind of, So that's a sidebar to all this. So
Sure.
what ends up happening is that person being on stage, there's that dopamine hit, your body has all these chemical reactions, you have this crash on Monday, and then eventually your body starts craving that dopamine hit, right?
Sure.
So it becomes this weekly thing. And I think a lot of pastors do end up in a situation unintentionally. This is not a critique on
Dig
them
on
of like,
anyone.
yeah, it's
Right,
not
sure.
a dig on any of them.
Yeah.
I think it just becomes this natural routine and rhythm that we fall into, and your body's just, and then you mix that with the ego and the insecurity that a lot of pastors have, and it
The
becomes
humanity of it.
Yeah,
right?
the
'Cause
humanity.
They're humans.
Right, exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
And it becomes this
We want
almost.
to, hold on, I want to stay on that for a second.
Yeah.
Because we want pastors to be superhuman, just like we want anybody in leadership, CEOs, the president,
for sure.
or whatever. We
Yeah.
always want them to be better than
the rest of us.
better than all of us.
Yeah,
You're
better
the
than
best.
us.
That's why you got here.
Right. Yeah.
And we forget that, oh no, they fell from grace like the rest of us.
Yeah.
They have desires and lusts and sin like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And sometimes, they succumb to those things like the rest of us. And
100%.
the idea is that, grace, I guess that's where grace and love comes into play.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Sure.
I also think there is whether you want to believe, whether you think this is a myth or it's real, whatever, you take the Bible and the story of Jesus. Jesus obviously was a real historical figure, but debatable for anyone on whether he's truly Son of God, whatever, is God, is the Messiah, whatever.
He is. Anyways.
Sure. Yeah.
Just want to make this
I
clear.
believe it.
He
Yes,
is.
I believe that. But I'm not trying to push that
Sure.
on.
Yeah.
My point being, I think there is a reason that the Bible is so clear and talks about Jesus being fully God and fully human all in one. I think we dismiss the fully human side a lot of that.
Sure.
I think it's a representation of the understanding that just because you are a leader, you are also a human being.
Sure.
You are not perfect. And for those around you to understand.
They skip his 20s for a reason,
Right,
I
yeah.
imagine. There was some stuff that went
Sure.
down in that middle-ish area.
Sure. Yeah.
Where he's just like, fuck you, man. Fuck you, Dad. I don't want to do this shit.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we tend to downplay that a little bit, the understanding of, yes, like you said, pastors, whoever, leadership, they're all human beings, right?
Yeah.
I think it's most important with anyone, whether it's a pastor, whether it's the regular human being on the street that you encounter, whether it's a police officer, whether it's a political figure, anyone. I think all of us, our starting point should be they are a human being first. Human being first. Whatever uniform, anything else that they have on, whatever title they hold
Secondary.
is secondary.
Sure.
Yes.
I agree.
Human being first.
Yeah.
Because that puts us all on an even playing field. Two, that helps us recognize imperfection. The vessel is the vessel. The vessel can be cracked. The vessel can be imperfect.
Yeah.
In the Bible, God, again, he used a donkey.
He was a bush.
Yeah, he used all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
yes, the vessel is just a part of the whole story.
Sure.
What we tend to do is
Focus
we make
on the wrong part of the story.
Yeah, we focus on the vessel
exactly.
specifically, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
this can't be legit because this person sucks.
correct, right?
Or
It's
this can't be
that-
true because this person's, X,
Yeah,
Y, or Z.
correct.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I tell people all the time. People ask me about do you miss speaking or do you love it and all that kind of stuff. And what I usually tell people, because I recognize my own imperfections in this, what I usually tell people is the best that you will, if you want to see me at my best, put me on a stage in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
That is when when I say you'll see me at my best,
Sure.
what I understand is that I am good at that. I am good at being on a stage and performing in front of a crowd in that way. You could give me 5 minutes before and go, pick a scripture.
Yeah.
You're going to preach on it to these 10,000 people in 5 minutes.
All right, so hold that for a second.
Yeah.
So are you saying, am I understanding that any scripture
Uh-huh.
you feel very comfortable in speaking on
Yeah,
for the
let
most part?
me tell you why.
Okay, let me hear why.
'Cause
Because
I
that's actually pretty
literally-
freaking amazing.
Because I literally had to do that
Yeah.
as a teenager,
Yeah.
knowing that I was going to go to Bible college. My mentor, the church that I went to, my mentor and the youth pastors, That they literally, that's how they coached us.
Right.
They would go, not only that, it was like, whose line is it anyway? It was like, all right, I need a subject.
Yeah.
I need a top. Like
Yeah.
they literally go,
It was
okay,
like
I need a
yeah.
book of the Bible.
Yeah. It's like the ground. What do they call it? The groundlings?
The groundlings. Yeah. It was essentially, it literally
biblical
was.
groundlings.
Yeah. It literally was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. So it'll literally be like, all right, I need somebody give me a book of the Bible. Exodus. All right, give me a chapter. 23. Give me a verse. 5.
Yeah.
Great. Jason. Exodus 23,
Hit
verse
it.
5. We're going to do a couple songs and then you're up.
Yeah.
Like it literally had to do that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying the theology is great,
Sure.
but what it did, and my point is, what it did for me is it taught me how to, this is the moment. I can capture that moment.
Sure.
It may not be divine at all. It may not be God inspired one
No,
bit.
it's muscle memory.
It's
You've
muscle
been
memory.
studying your
Right.
ass off for
Yeah.
years.
Right.
It's practice. It's
Yeah.
medicine. It's
well,
doctors.
and
It's the same thing. Anybody.
and it's also
It's a 10,000 hours
there's
rule.
there's 10,000 out. There's also natural talent in
Sure.
there.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a famous pastor years ago, his name Francis Chan, that I remember at a pastor's conference, him talking about this very thing. And I remember him saying, just because a church is large and a guy on stage is great at it, doesn't mean God has anything to do with it. And he equated it to himself. He said, listen, I know that I am good at speaking on a stage. I know that that's my talent. I know that I'm great at it. You put me anywhere in the country, you put me on a stage, you give me a good band and a good lighting package, and I'll draw a crowd. I'll build a church.
Right.
Doesn't
I love that it's
doesn't
the
mean
band.
God has anything to do with it.
No. That was going to say.
Yeah.
I love that he said good band because band does matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get to that here in a second too, or follow up with that. But lighting, lighting matters. I get it.
Yeah, it's setting a mood.
But never once did he say, "Hey, give me a soapbox in a corner in the shittiest street in Detroit or wherever,
Exactly.
and God will move through me."
Right. Because
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Because in my head I
his
would hope
point is,
that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so his point is, just because your church has 10,000 people in it, and you have an incredible band and you're putting out albums, or you got 20,000 people and you got debatable on whether God has actually blessed that or not.
Right.
You might just be great at being on stage and you have a cult of personality.
Yeah,
in
you
your
had
building.
you're charismatic and people fell in love with you.
People are attracted to that.
Right.
And as human beings,
so how do you discern then as like a church as an attendee?
yeah,
That's
a great question.
Words. How do you do it?
Great question.
Yeah.
Again, I think it comes back to environment. I think it comes back to a scenario of, in my opinion, we do it and teach it all wrong in the American church. Though I'd say the Western church specifically more than anything else. Yeah. So much of the world in church world has become Americanized over the years. We don't teach people to learn how to study themselves.
Right.
We don't give them the tools to understand and discern scripture themselves. And we also don't teach it in a way for them to recognize that what God is saying to you in this matters.
Right.
We boil it down to there's one truth and that's it. What I have said about this scripture is what the truth is. I was actually thinking about this earlier today. I forget what triggered it for me. I also came up in a world where they would teach us that you could read the same script. The reason you should read the Bible constantly, the reason you should read through the Bible every year, right? You got people that are like, here's how to read the Bible in 365 days, right?
Yeah.
Like this routine of reading it is because they believe, and they teach this, that you can read the same scripture 100 times and God's going to teach you something different every time in that scripture. Now, what they don't do is they don't apply that to you as a parishioner reading that scripture. And if you come up with a different truth from that scripture that applies to your life and that could apply to other people, they downplay that if that truth that you have walked away with is different than the pastor's truth that he walked away with or she walked away with, they tend to downplay, well, but you didn't go to seminary, you're not you're not educated on it.
You don't get it.
Right. Yeah, you're not educated on it. I'm saying what we don't recognize from a pastoral standpoint is that God does reveal truth to the person reading scripture, not just to the person standing on stage.
Dictating scripture.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then we also in church world, we don't teach people to critically think. We actually downplay critical thinking because for the American church to exist the way that it exists, there's some element of control that has to happen. The church world that I grew up in, very militant, very much a controlled.
And why do you think that is? Like, what's the purpose?
Money.
It's all about money.
Yeah. Because if people, and again, it comes back to the insecurity, it comes back to all this, what I would call, I guess I would put it in this, like, it's basically tribalism, right? This is our tribe. I'm the chief of this tribe. We're not okay with people leaving the tribe.
No.
Because that means something's wrong. That means you disagree.
Sure.
So instead of just recognizing like, yeah, this tribe just isn't for you, or we're not on the same footing as a tribe. There are other tribes. There is a pinpoint, like what I grew up with, is that there's only one truth and that's it.
Right.
Nobody else. Like, to the point that the Baptist world that I grew up in, short of saying this, I think actually believed that the only people in heaven were going to be the same Baptists that they were, because they were the only ones that had the real truth.
Yeah, but they're not the only ones that feel that way.
They're not. I'm just saying my own experience.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned cult of personality. There's cultish in there's cults in everything. But sticking with Christianity specifically, there are so many different denominations, and then within their subsects of these denominations where people believe in like speaking in tongues, and some people think like that's poppycock or whatever. Some people think the rapture's real. Some people think it's bologna and cheese.
Well,
like,
again,
who's right? How do you know?
Exactly. Who's right? That's why it's called faith.
Right.
Because no one knows. It's a choice to believe, right?
Yeah, but it makes it tough when you have a dude. Sorry, not to cut you off, but it makes it tough because almost every church, not almost, every single church has whoever's in leadership has I was this, God spoke to me.
Correct.
And now here's this. You're talking about hierarchies. All of a sudden now it's like, well, God spoke to this person.
Correct.
Right. And so now it's like, who am I to question them? You mentioned logic before. Who am I to question them?
Yeah.
If I do, I'm going to be told, well, it's because you don't know, you don't understand what I understand. And, and then that just sets up this whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's by design.
It's shitty.
And it is.
Shitty.
And that was not Jesus' intention.
No, it wasn't. I don't remember that part of the Bible.
Correct.
Yeah.
Jesus is very clear. You're all minister. You're all disciples. You're all minister. In fact, he said, when he talks about the simple things of follow me, when he says to those disciples, follow me, what he's saying to them in that moment is multiple things. Well, I think culturally we don't understand modern day and in America.
Sure.
Culturally what was happening there is these disciples, one, they've aged out of being a disciple. In their culture in that time, to be the disciple of a rabbi was everything.
Sure.
It was status. Right? Like that was the pinnacle of status in that Jewish community at the time.
And you had to be young.
Century.
You had to start.
You started very young. Yeah. By the time a Jewish boy in that track was 10 years old, they had the entire Old Testament, what we now consider the Old Testament, their scriptures at the time, was memorized. They had it memorized. Like they knew it front and back.
Yeah. They're like, Jason, pick Exodus 5, verse 5.
Which is interesting, knowing that. It's interesting that when Jesus would address the Pharisees, the religious leaders of the day, when he would say things to them like, go and learn the meaning of this scripture and then quote it to them, it was a bit of a slap in the face because he didn't say, go and learn the scripture. They knew the scripture. They knew as he started the words quoting that scripture, they knew the rest of the sentence.
Sure.
He didn't say that. He said, go and learn the meaning of it because you have it memorized, but you don't understand what it means.
Sure.
I'm about to drop some truth on you of what it means.
Sure.
That's what was happening. But what he was saying to the disciples is, by saying, follow me, I liken it to what Star Wars does, what you see with Jedi and Padawan learners. they exist all the time with that Jedi master, right? Their mentor.
Sure.
What they are learning is not just about the Force. What they are learning is how to live within the Force through the lens of the person they're following.
Sure.
They're learning to how do they maneuver every situation they're in?
Sure.
How do they use the Force in this situation?
How do they discern?
How do they discern?
Yeah, right.
All of these things. What Jesus is saying.
It's not just lightsabers and choking
Correct.
out the bad guy.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
It's
They're learning
existence.
It's the same thing. So when Jesus says to them, "Follow me," because in that culture, a disciple following a rabbi, that's what they did. They lived with the rabbis. They were with them all the time.
Yeah,
they
ate with
studied.
them.
They
Right.
ate with them.
Yep.
All of those things. And these guys had aged out. They were teenagers at this point. Kind of written off. They'd fallen back on with the family business, essentially.
Fishing?
Yeah. Jesus comes along and says multiple things to them in these simple words of "follow me."
Yeah.
One thing he says to them is, "You matter. You have value. Just because you have aged out of this, you have value.
Sure.
You're not trash that has been discarded. You haven't missed your calling.
Right.
You are valued." 2, I'm asking you to come follow me and learn how to discern and maneuver in this world. The truths of these sacred truths that me, as the Son of God, as your rabbi, is going to model for you. When you're criticized or when I'm criticized, you're going to see how I handle that. When the religious leaders of the day question me on why I am doing a certain thing and teaching a certain thing, you're going to see how I handle that. To the point that when Jesus is about to be arrested and Peter pulls the dude's sword and cuts the guy's ear off, and Jesus said, "Oh, no, Peter,
We don't do that.
that's not it.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to put his ear back on. Peter, you got it wrong. You missed the point. That's not what I do. What you need to learn is what I do.
Right.
Because when I'm gone, it's on your shoulders
Right.
to pass that on to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation." We don't teach people to do that because that is less controlling. If we as pastors try to do that, that's messy. Because what it means is you've got a Peter that cuts an ear off.
Right.
Like, hypothetically, not like...
No, I understand. But what it means is you're acknowledging that people in your service, your followers, are dirty. And we need to address
Just
the dirty.
like we are.
Right, just like we are.
Yes.
And we need to address the ugly and the dirty.
Correct.
We don't ever like to talk about the ugly and the dirty.
Right.
Unless it's in a private thing. And I get
Right.
I get why that is. You don't want to embarrass
Sure.
anybody
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you know, you
There's
don't want like
yeah.
a public stoning, emotional stoning.
Yeah,
right?
correct. Yeah. that's-
So I understand that, but like, you know, but I think we spend a lot of time not having the hard conversations.
Yeah. There's a weird dichotomy of you as the person on stage teaching truth from Scripture. And also, you are dependent on the money from the people listening to you teach.
So you can't cut off the money. Can't say anything that's going to cut off that money.
Correct.
Right. I know. I get it. It's a business.
It's a business, which then, in some ways,
Yeah. You don't want to Bud Light this
cripples-
situation. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like right. It puts you in a precarious situation, right?
Yeah.
Because
you
if
gotta
you
toe the
start
line.
teaching,
You got to toe the line,
if you
whatever
teach
that
something,
line is.
if you take the truth of Scripture and
Yep.
it absolutely, I mean, look at it this way. I mean, here's a very clear one.
Yeah.
With Jesus, easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. His answer to a rich man who came to him and asked him, "How do I get to heaven?" And he says, "Go sell all your possessions, or not sell it, but go give all your possessions to the poor."
Yeah.
Because it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get to heaven.
Yeah, because they covet their stuff.
Correct.
Right.
That's really hard to teach in a mega church
Right.
with millionaires, literally millionaires,
Yeah.
sitting in the pews.
Right. So listen, I'm going to change gears. All heroes, you're a hero. All right, we see all your beautiful
Wow,
logos. You're a
okay,
hero.
yeah.
Okay, you are. You're a local legend.
All right,
You
yeah.
know, you got to pull the switch at the Lightning. That's dope. You know
did,
how I feel about
yeah.
the Lightning.
Yes.
But I want to go back to the very beginning. You touched
Okay.
on it a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned growing up Baptist. You
Yeah.
mentioned growing up South.
Yeah.
But before TEDx, before Hope Dealing,
Uh-huh.
you know, all
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
Speak plainly unto me, O wise Jason. What strange
Emerge.
lineage doth compel a man to clean souls and
Yeah.
sheets and undergarments? Like, where do you come from? Tell me the story.
Yeah. So grew up in Panama City, Florida,
Okay,
up in the Panhandle,
right on.
Redneck Riviera, as we like to call it up there.
Okay, I've never been.
Or L.A. for Lower Alabama.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So do you? How many times have you told me I'm from LA and they thought you meant LA?
Oh, I never say that I'm from
Okay,
LA.
this is just
I
a
just
local
refer,
thing.
It's a local thing.
It's a
Yeah,
local
yeah.
thing. Okay, got it.
We know.
Yeah. Okay, so
If I say the Redneck Riviera to people, they'll know. Oh, Panhandle.
yeah.
People know that.
the Panhandle.
Yeah.
All right.
So I grew up there. My dad was a police officer. My mom was a nurse. My grandfather was a police officer.
Got it.
My uncle was a police officer. I come from a lineage of that.
Yeah, we texted about that, and you said he was retarded.
No, I don't believe I used that word.
No, what did you-
retired?
That makes way more sense. Okay, sorry. Okay,
Um,
makes way more sense.
oh my
I was like,
gosh.
oh, he's damn. Dude,
Yeah.
like I thought it was like Line of Duty, some cool ass like Lethal Weapon story.
No,
It just
no.
turns out I'm an idiot, and I read it wrong. Yeah. Okay. Well, that happens.
So-
not the first time I've been wrong. It's not gonna be the last time. Okay. Anyway, sorry. So he's retired.
Anyway, retired,
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
retired
All
police
right.
officer.
Yep.
I'm like fifth, from what I can track so far, fifth generation native Floridian from that area.
Sure.
My mom was adopted, Native American, was adopted by my grandfather, and grandmother. And
So what kind of Native American?
we don't know because there's no records.
Yeah,
She
but
was
like you did
adopted in the
23 and
50s.
me that shit or what?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, we know
Okay,
she's
but-
native.
yeah.
There's no records of like what tribe.
Yeah.
Remember, in the 1950s in Northwest Florida,
Yeah.
not a lot of record keeping for native
No,
kids
not
up for adoption.
I think intentionally in this country there was a lot of record keeping when it came to Native Americans.
mhm.
They intentionally were like, "Nah, leave that part out."
Yeah,
No,
correct. Yeah,
That's
for sure.
shitty,
Right.
Shitty. Anyway,
Yeah. So
anyway,
I grew up there.
Sure.
Incredible. I had a great family.
why didn't you become a cop?
So here's
in
the
the
thing.
blood.
Yeah, I know. So here's the thing.
Just be out there, just like
We
Danny Glover in it.
I
dude.
know.
You know, it's like
I don't know if you can see if you're listening to
can
this.
see
You
it. They
can't
can see
see his
Yeah,
head movement, the
go
old
to-
Danny Glover head.
go to
head
YouTube,
movement.
you'll see it.
Yeah. So I wanted to as a kid. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Me and my older brother both wanted to be cops when we were kids.
Sure.
My dad did not want us to go in the family business. He was. I can say this now. He lied to both of us about why
Okay.
neither of us.
Should be.
Well, he didn't really lie to me. He told me the truth, and it just worked. He lied to my brother, though. My older brother.
Yeah.
To this day, my older brother's. Let's see. He's in his 50s, mid 50s, right?
No way. Really?
Yeah. He's 9 years older than me. So I'm
No
40.
way.
I'm 46. So he's 55. No, he turned 56 this year. Yeah.
Wait, the
So-
brother I know?
No.
Banjo?
You've met my younger.
Okay,
That's my younger
Jake,
brother.
Jake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jake. I'm talking about my older brother,
the one
Michael.
I've never met. Okay,
You've never
my bad.
met my
Okay.
older brother or my older
I was
sister.
like, there's no fucking way that guy's
Yeah,
56
no, he's not.
years old.
He looks great,
He's-
right?
I was like, Explains why he's good at banjo, though. It just seems
yeah.
like an old person's instrument. It's an old man's instrument. you
He
know?
is an old soul. So my older brother, he is colorblind, and so my dad told him, "Oh, you can't be a police officer, be colorblind. They're not going to let you be. You're not going to let you be a cop."
You know,
If
they say dogs
you
are colorblind,
misidenti-
but this dog
Yeah.
barks at. This dog is not
Everything.
colorblind.
So he's like, I mean, if you misidentify a car, like so whatever. And so my brother, for years, he believed it. Never went into it.
But
So
what was the real
fast
reason?
Forward,
Is that
So I'll come back to
Okay,
that. I'll
okay,
come back
sorry,
to the word.
sorry,
So
okay.
fast forward, my brother's neighbor at the time is a cop, and he lives in Utah. And they're talking about it one day, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to be a police officer." My dad, I couldn't, or he said, "I wanted to be a police officer, but I couldn't because I was colorblind." And that guy went, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, my dad was a cop, and he told me I can't be a cop because I'm colorblind." And
he's
that
like,
guy,
dude, my lieutenant has an eye patch.
and my dad, that guy's neighbor was like, That's not a thing.
Dude.
Which, ironically, you mentioned the eye patch.
Yeah.
Literally, one of my dad's coworkers,
Yeah.
looking back on it, one of my dad's coworkers had a glass eye.
Yeah.
He literally had a glass eye.
Yeah. But he wasn't
And he was a
but
cop.
that other line,
Other eye.
100%.
Right. Yeah. Right. So my brother was so pissed when when it had
That's
this
funny.
realization of like, wait a minute, that's not true. So anyway, for me,
What did he tell you?
so if I was gonna, here's the thing: if I had gone in the military, if I had been a cop, I wanted to do the most extreme things possible. When I would go to the police station with my dad as a kid, when I would hang out with him at his office, the guys that I was fascinated by and that I loved, that I wanted to spend all the time with at the department, were the undercover drug guys, like the hardest of the hard, the SWAT team guys. Those are the people that I loved. The guys that came in, long hair, ratty clothes, because they were undercover.
You wanted to be
doing
Johnny
drug
Depp
busts.
in 21 Jump Street.
I didn't want to do that. I
Richard
wanted to be.
You seem like a Richard Grieco guy.
I wanted to be Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon.
Fuck yeah, me too.
Like
I still do.
Yeah, like I wanted to be Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to be clean. I wanted. If I had gone to the military, I wanted to be like, what's the most extreme special ops I can be? That's what that was my personality.
He
and
knew
my
that
dad,
you were extreme, and
Yeah,
you'd get
when it
into
came to
the.
that.
You wouldn't be a pencil pusher.
No,
You'd
right.
be like You'd be normal.
I wanted to be an undercover
You'd be
guy.
deep.
I wanted,
Deep
that's what I wanted to do.
six. Yeah.
And he convinced me. It didn't, and he was telling me the truth, but it worked. He was like, "Oh, buddy, you can't just go be that. You have to start as a uniform officer. You got to do your time as a patrol officer,
You
and
gotta write a bunch of
you gotta
traffic
do all that
tickets.
right. You got to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
You got to write reports.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of writing, bud.
Yeah.
You cut your finger on the job, you got to write a report about it." And I was like, "Wait a second, I can't just go be a detective."
Right.
No, you got to put in time. And I was like, "Forget that. I don't want anything
Yeah,
to do with
sounds
that."
hard.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna go to Bible school
forget,
instead
right,
for 20
yeah,
years.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "This is crazy." I don't want to. So that's how he talked me out of it
Okay.
as a kid. But the route that I went, I always attribute to what I do in life currently is a direct result of the parents that I had, the family that I had, the environment they came up in.
Yeah.
They all of their careers were helping people. My mom was a nurse.
Yeah.
Dad was a cop. People can argue all day about police officers and good or bad, all that kind of stuff.
I love them.
Yeah. Here's
Salt of
what
the
I
earth.
know and
My
understand.
wife's a nurse practitioner. My buddies are cops. That's the
here's
world's run
here's
on
what I
them.
grew up in, and here's what I learned about the uniform and the badge. That uniform, that badge, is meant to represent hope for people that are in trouble.
Right.
When that person is in danger, that badge, uniform, whatever you want to call it, that is a representation. That person is going to stand between me and the danger and get me out of danger. They are going to protect me. That's what that job is about. It represents hope to a person that's in trouble.
Yeah.
That's what it's meant to be.
It should. Yeah.
Right.
It
And
should.
it doesn't play out that way off a lot of times. Like, but that's what it's meant to be. That's the job, right? So that's what I learned growing up. And what I learned in this life, the best thing that you can do with your life is to serve other people. Protect and serve. That's the age-old statement of police, right?
Yep.
Protect and serve. In the medical field, it's the do no harm. It doesn't matter if you like or disagree with that person, you help them.
Sure.
Like if they're hurting, their arm is broken, you fix their
fix it.
broken arm.
Yeah.
That's the job. And what I picked up from my family, from that life was, yeah, we help people in this life, whatever way that is. And for me, it became spiritually. That's the route that I went. It was, what better way to help people than to help guide them spiritually and help them in life.
Yeah, but you didn't come to that on your own. Something pushed you.
It's my grandparents were very influential in my life. I grew up spending a lot of, because both my
Baptist, right?
parents, yes. So both my parents, being first responders, their work schedules were nuts.
Sure.
I have a lot of memories of childhood being with one parent, not the other. And memories of like my mom and I are walking out the door to go to school, and my dad's coming home from the night shift. So like,
Sure.
a lot of memories, and none of that is a complaint. Like my parents would hear that and be like, "Oh man,
I missed it.
yeah."
Yeah.
I have no complaints.
Sure.
I
It was
loved
just your
it.
experience.
It's just my experience. Yeah, I
Not
loved
bad.
it. It was my yeah. I was proud of what they did to the point that my dad eventually told me, like, "Hey, man, don't. If someone asks you what I do for a living, just tell them I work for the city and leave it at that." Because he didn't want me to get. I was proud of it, but people don't always like cops, and they don't want. He didn't want his kid
Yeah,
experiencing.
you know who doesn't like cops? Criminals. You know that? I'm just saying.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, here's my
Criminals
point. What
suck.
I always tell people is criminals are not criminals. For me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No one's having a good day when they have to call the police.
Sure.
Like that job, not to get onto this tangent, but that job is tough in that imagine your job every day is dealing with the worst day of people at their worst.
Yeah.
Like no one's calling you because they're having a great day.
Hey, hi, 911. How are you?
Right. Yeah.
I'm always pleasant when I go home.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
and this is not to excuse abuse and all of other things that happen at all. But what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to that job is that, and I experienced it as a child growing up in that world, watching it, observing it, when everyone else is falling apart and stressed, they're the ones that can't be that way. And you were expecting, again, back to the beginning of the conversation, imperfect people to be perfect.
To be graceful.
Right.
In a stressful
There
situation.
100% are bad people in those jobs.
Sure.
Just in the same way there's bad people in
everywhere.
Pastoral jobs.
I'm a shitty podcast host.
I know you're great. But in jobs of relevance like that, there's terrible pastors that should not be pastors, but they are.
Sure.
There's terrible police officers that should not be police officers, but they are.
There's terrible fathers that shouldn't be fathers.
Yeah, sure. You could go down the line.
Yeah.
Of course. And it's not to excuse any of that, but it's an understanding of human being wearing a uniform, wearing a badge, expected to perform at the best at all times. Mm-hmm. Virtually impossible job. And they are doing a thankless job in a lot of ways, they see things that no human being should ever have to see.
Sure.
That is a tough job. But what I learned from my family and observing and growing up in church world is that with all the trauma and the terrible environment of a lot of the church world I grew up in, what I walked away with was, like I said earlier, human beings first.
Yeah.
Every person matters to God.
Yeah.
Every life is difficult.
Sure.
We're all doing the best that we can. Sure.
Debatable. Okay.
But doing the best, I would still, to this day, I would still argue, yeah, most people are doing the best that they can based on the circumstances given to them. You got to give some allowance for the people that have a different starting line.
Sure.
Because that's what Jesus would do.
Right.
That's what we as human beings should understand about each other. I think we have a hard time culturally, these days especially, with the balance of personal responsibility and communal responsibility.
I couldn't agree with you more. How do you go from Bible college, from Panama City, to Laundry Project, which congratulations, it sounds like 17 years since current initiatives, right?
Yeah, long time.
And then the first thing you did was Laundry Project.
Correct.
Okay, and then all the other things, and we'll get there too.
Yeah.
But okay, so 17 years, congratulations. My marriage isn't 17 years. Yeah. And I imagine a lot of the people you married didn't make 17 years.
I don't know.
We're going to get to there too because I have questions. You don't follow up with anybody other than me?
I mean, I became friends with some of them, but
so how many of them are still married?
I have no idea. I've done hundreds of weddings. I don't know.
It's in the reviews. We'll get there.
Okay.
All right. So Laundry Project. Okay. So how do you go from cop kid?
Yep.
Seminary school?
Yep.
Pastor?
Yep.
Started some of your own churches, or was a founding member?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then, I'm gonna wash some dirty drawers.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
So got fired from a church, and
May I ask why, or
both,
do you don't want to talk about
both churches? No, I don't mind. Church politics, I'll put in that category.
Okay. You don't want to get into specifics though, because I like juice.
Yeah,
I like that
I know
juice,
you do.
Betty.
I know you do.
Yeah. But if you don't want to air it, it's all right.
No, it's fine.
No one's gonna watch this.
I mean,
no, seriously, we talked about COVID. No one's ever fucking see this thing. No one ever see this fucking show.
No, I was
You
gonna
think
say
I'm
it because
kidding,
you're not
dog.
gonna put it
No,
out.
No, I'll put it. I'll fucking put it out. But dude, it'll never. Dude,
Oh,
YouTube will fucking
I'll get
throttle
it.
the fuck out
I'll
of this
get
thing.
it.
Yeah,
I'll get it out there.
they'll see clips.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I'm not gonna get into a lot of specifics. Like
No, sorry, I don't want to hear it.
church church politics are I know pastors that won't hire staff if they've not been fired from a church because there's a lot of lessons to learn in that. And there's a lot of toxicity in church staff. There's a lot of
Any
toxicity.
fucking business. It's a business at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. And the reason I'll go in that I don't necessarily like going into a lot of detail about it because I don't have any I don't carry any
Animosity.
any weight.
I don't need any
It is
details,
what it
buddy.
is.
It's cool. What
No,
happened?
I know. Yeah. So I get done working with this church, and I was real passionate about missions work and did some of it, didn't do a lot. Kind of hit this moment of, we're always flying to another country to go do work in another country and passing neighborhoods on the way to the airport that in a lot of ways just as bad off as some of the places we're going.
Yeah.
But we're not doing anything for that.
No.
And kind of have an epiphany of like, yeah, it's not as sexy to take photos 5 minutes down the road from your church in the United States as it is in a developing third world country in the jungle with a tribe of people that don't have the same technology.
So it's all ego shit.
Yeah, I think unintended. I don't know that I would say it's on purpose, but I think it's the system, it's the culture that we've created in church world.
We have it so good here. Let's go be good there.
Yeah, it's the white knight. It's the knight in shining armor.
The Harvey Dent.
It's the Harvey Dent. Exactly.
Okay.
This is what I was
got
doing.
it.
I was trying to figure out what do I want to do. If I could design my own, if I could write down on paper, what do I want to do with my life from this point forward? What would it look like? And I kind of did that. Some of that was missions work, but I kind of landed on I don't want to do, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I don't necessarily want to go to other countries and do it. I want to help people in our own city, in our own neighborhoods. And then I was in Southern California.
Yep.
Some friends took a homeless guy, some homeless people they worked with. They took him to the laundromat, washed his clothes, because that's what they did. They were working with homeless families.
That was
and people.
their
That was
mission.
their mission.
Their mission
This
was
is
that.
not right.
Okay.
So I'm getting to what became mine.
Okay.
I just happened to be with them. Went to a laundromat with them. It wasn't the homeless guy. It wasn't what they were doing. It was being in a conversation with a family in that laundromat saying, essentially, we're not buying groceries this week so that we can wash our clothes. Something I'd never heard before. Didn't use the laundromat growing up. Never had to experience that. Never had experienced that kind of poverty. And that broke my heart hearing
Sure.
that. And so I started doing some research and learning, hearing about some people that were trying to help people in laundry, like get over that hump financially and whatnot. And came to terms with that's not a choice I am okay with anyone having to make. And so when I came back to Tampa, I was like, I want to help people in our city. How do I'm starting this nonprofit. This is going to be the thing. I'm just going to get in the laundry. I'm going to help people that are using laundromats have to, whatever I can do to help them get past the financial burden of making the choice of not buying food for their kids
Right.
or washing their kids' clothes.
Sure.
I don't think anyone should have, I don't think any parent
Fucked up.
should have to make
It's
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's
Especially
crazy.
in the United States, considered the richest country in the world. That should not be a choice anyone should have to make.
Yeah.
Why is that a choice in the United States of America? I still, to this day,
crazy, dude.
17 years in, I am once again reminded, man, I have it so good.
So lucky.
I am reminded that my story is not that. I'm reminded that my story is a family that was able to provide for me in a way that this family that I'm looking at can't.
Right.
And the idea, what I've learned over and over again, which goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about, it's most of these people walking in this laundromat right now, they're not taking advantage of a system.
No.
The deck is stacked against them. Some of it maybe, sure, some of their own choices play into that, but there's a lot of things that play into this It's very nuanced. It's not black and white. It's not an
Sure.
easy solution. Things like you get into things now, like you look at Tampa, for example, just Tampa Bay, how expensive it is to live here from a state perspective. Florida is literally the least affordable state in the country to live in because not because things are necessarily that much more expensive. They are. Inflation is a thing, but our incomes have not kept up with the inflation and cost of living in Florida.
Sure.
We've not done anything to regulate that,
Right.
which has put people that are already financially struggling in a worse position.
Sure. In a
And then
deeper hole.
And then you have a corporation like
Fucking
Tide
sucks.
or Gain or whatever, all these things because of inflation, because of tariffs, because of stupid choices that politicians make over
Right.
time.
Who again aren't really feeling the effects
They're
of these
not-
decisions they're fucking
Correct.
making.
Yeah.
Right? They don't shop for these things.
Any politician that goes,
Sure.
yeah, I'm for the working class. No, you're not. You're not a working class person. You don't understand. You don't know where you maybe lived at one point in your life. You
Yeah.
don't anymore. You don't know what the cost of laundry detergent is.
Right.
You don't know what it means to walk into a laundromat and literally bring Pine Sol with you because it's the cheapest thing for you to use, and you're pouring Pine Sol into a laundry.
Really?
100%. Yeah.
Dude.
You don't know what it means to have
Jason,
to
holy shit.
stare down the barrel of one. I can't get a place to live because not only do I have to pay first and last month's rent, I also have to pay a security deposit. I also have to have a credit report
Yeah, some sort of good credit. Yeah.
that shows that I have good credit.
Yeah.
And looking down the barrel of rent, I'm trying to rent just a nominal place in Tampa, and the starting rent is $1,500. So I have to put up $3,000 plus a security deposit, which is usually $1,000 or more. I'm looking at $5,000 right out of the gate.
Right. And I got $80 in my bank in my check, maybe.
Right.
That's
Correct.
crazy.
And
dude. Yeah.
then,
Wow.
and then I got to wash my kids' clothes and feed my kids. And people will argue, oh, you shouldn't have kids.
No, that's a
Whatever.
dickhead argument.
Exactly.
It's a dickhead argument.
Correct. And for me, like one, the deck is stacked against it. So now, right, not only that, even if I want off-brand, I'm not even talking about Tide or Gain, name a big brand.
Right.
I just want off the
Dollar
shelf from the
General,
dollar
fuck,
store.
right, exactly,
It
duh.
still affects. Like, yeah, it's
Sure.
a dollar store, but you're still spending $3, $4 for it.
Yeah, it's not $1.
No.
Generally $1.
Generally, right. It's generally $1.
Dude, holy
And that's just one
shit.
thing. You're not
Right.
talking about the logistics of getting to a laundromat.
Yeah.
I get arguments. I've had arguments for years. People ask me for years, why don't you focus on getting people washers and dryers in the places they live? All right. Well, you're assuming that they have a permanent place to live.
Right.
You're assuming
They
that
can afford the water bill.
they can
dick.
afford the water bill.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
assuming that they can afford, if they have to move out of that place, that they can take it with them to a place. You're assuming the place they're going to has a washer dryer hookup.
Right.
Like,
There's a lot of assumptions.
and you're also assuming the thing that we forget about, most people don't realize, this is getting in the weeds of a lot of this,
No, it's okay.
that
That's why we're here.
laundromats are actually better for the environment rather than everyone having a washer and dryer in their individual home.
Sure.
It's actually better energy-wise, water-wise, environmentally to have a central hub within a neighborhood that everyone uses
Right.
than for everyone to have a washer and dryer in their home.
Unless you're in India. That's a bad idea because they use the river and that river is fucked up.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, sorry.
Um,
You're like,
sure.
thanks, dude, for shitting on
okay.
my beautiful emotional point. That's what I do.
Yeah.
You're welcome. The Vilardi Digital, baby. This is how we get down.
Yeah. And I've seen arguments for years. People comment on our social media like, oh, people can wash their clothes in the bathtub. People do it all the time. What we're dismissing is the intrinsic underlying value of it. It's a simple word, dignity. Every human being deserves dignity.
Right.
I understand that, sure, we can pull ourselves up out of our bootstraps. We can wash our clothes in our sink. We can, all of those things. But dignity is the important piece of this. Empowerment as a human being is what matters most.
Right.
That we understand and treat people with dignity. Dignity is not, nobody cares. I have clothes in a bathtub that I'm stomping on for my kids to wash their clothes. Dignity is not, my kids are having to do the smell test on their clothes this week to figure out what's the cleanest and smells the least bad for them to go to school so they
Right.
don't get picked on.
Or it's picture day, dude.
Or it's
and
picture day.
like,
Dignity is not, I have dirty clothes to wear to a job. You want me to get a job? I'm going to a job interview this week. I don't have clean clothes to wear to that job interview
Right.
because I can afford to wash those clothes.
yeah.
Um,
Or the point you made in that TED talk too was like, why are people stealing grocery carts?
mhm.
And you're like, it's because that's their mode of transportation to bring
Yeah.
literally loads of laundry,
Yeah.
sheets, shirts, weeks and weeks because
Yeah.
they don't wash them week over week like we're super.
Right.
Some people are super fortunate.
Yeah.
It's blocks to the local laundromat.
Mhm.
Dude, holy shit! No,
Yeah.
you're legit doing the simplest thing. I get it. It makes sense. How in the fuck does Jason rally support behind this idea locally? How do you
Yeah,
get
it's good question.
yeah, how do you get people to buy into it? How do you get people to believe in it? How do you get people that's a lot of quarters, dog.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
so what's the secret?
Uh,
What's the secret to the 501c3? Hey, we're going to go wash some funky clothes in
Yeah.
a community that nobody apparently gives a shit about right now and that we
Sure.
should.
Yeah.
How do we fix this? How do you get people to say yes?
I think there's a couple ways. To start with, when it first started, I had a hard time personally trying to do it because I felt like I was raising money for myself because I didn't have anything to show for it. Right? I
Right.
had this idea. There's nothing to show for it. I started so when I started, I had been a youth pastor for years, had a lot of former students that were in college, kind of started as a college group. I just recruited these college kids to come volunteer for it, right?
Sure.
Help raise some money for it. Got some photos, got some stories to tell, that kind of stuff. My biggest thing for people that I do often is I say, look, just if you have a half an hour on Saturday between these hours, between 10 to 1,
Yeah.
stop by this place, hang out for a few minutes and just be there
Right.
to see it. Because I know unless that person's just real shitty,
Right.
they're going to stand in that laundromat.
They're gonna feel it.
They're going to watch it. They're going to see it.
They're gonna
gonna
feel it.
Right? Along that line, in the mix of all that, were people that's how they grew up. I have a guy that has been one of my advisors for 17 years, 16 of these years. He is a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army, works in the White House,
Mhm.
very high profile person.
I think I met him.
You maybe
Yeah.
have.
Sure.
Um,
Rad dude.
he attended this cigar networking group that I happened to be speaking at.
Yeah.
Talked about the laundry project. The exact thing that you're talking about. Had a photo of a family, a young couple. Just happened to capture this photo. Dad's pushing a grocery cart with their laundry in it. Mom's pushing a stroller with their baby in it.
carriage, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one I saw. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck. What is this?
This guy comes to me. He's like, I want to have
This is
hey,
America,
can we have
dude.
coffee this week? Whatever,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah, great. I go to coffee with him. And he tells me the thing that got me is that photo. Because what most people don't know about me is that I was that kid pushing, not that picture, but I, as a child, was the kid pushing a grocery cart down the street to go to the laundromat to wash my family's clothes. I know that experience.
Yeah.
So I want to help because I lived it.
I lived that story.
And it's just story after story like that of various people like that. And then them bringing their friends along and people along, telling their story to other people of this is why I'm involved. And it kind of goes from there. It's just kind of a grassroots people telling their story.
Yeah. People helping people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. People helping people. People helping people.
Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
It's I laugh because it makes me uncomfortable. Because it's so raw. It's so real and so raw. It's like,
Yeah.
and again, even when I was there, I remember I brought an ex-girlfriend to one of the times, and she didn't get it. I had already done one. I did the one in Dunedin,
Okay. Yeah.
Clearwater, Dunedin, and then the next one, I was like, yeah, I'm going to this thing, and and there was just a lot of why. If you've ever had a girlfriend, You know, they love to fucking burden you with the why. It's just, but anyway, so she busted my ass about it, and like we went to the one that one was in Tampa, and I didn't say anything when we got out of the car. I didn't prep her in the car because again I was just being berated. So I was just like kind of like. I was like, hey, listen, we're going to get there. I'm just going to go right to it. And I said, I don't even think you were there, actually. I just kind of went in and just like somebody else was there from the team. And I was just like, hey, okay. And I just got right into it, put the fucking apron on. And it was just like, nope, we got it. And you start doing it. There's so many layers of privilege that I think that most of us have and don't appreciate how hard or how time consuming or how expensive.
Yeah.
And so the laundry project's really rad because you take all of that into account when you bring in a fucking 5-gallon bucket of quarters.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Multiple trunks of a detergent and softener.
Right.
Yeah. And a group, dude. Yeah. Like not 5, like 50. I was in one, there was 15 people in there wearing your aprons. Just like, and all of us are stuffed with quarters and just doing it, man. And it's like, it's really, really rad. So that's going well. Yeah. And you go, this is not enough. I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
I want to do weddings. Which came first? I want to marry people because marriage is so important. Yeah. Or you're like, no, hopes for homes. Yeah. Pimps up, homes down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so what came after Laundry Project?
The next thing we did was Hope for Homes. That was born out of when I started Current. I had weirdly just a large number of real estate investors that were involved. So they were working with homes already.
Use this. So Current's if it's an umbrella, Current's the mothership.
Yeah, that's the nonprofit itself.
And then you trickle down.
These 3 things are initiatives underneath that. Those are our programs. So that's
the initiatives of Current initiatives.
Correct.
And these are happening currently. And so the Current investors were a part of a laundry project.
Some of them helped start the laundry project.
And then you said, hey.
I didn't say it. Someone brought the idea to me. I just, it was things like, we have these families that sold a house, not sold a house, but like, I know this family that their home is in disrepair. They don't have the money for it. We should help them. Yeah. Which then turned into the Hope for Homes project.
Sure.
Which is kind of similar if you think about like the old TV show, Extreme Home Makeover.
Sure.
It's essentially the same idea, except instead of tearing their house down and building a brand new house, we're just renovating the home that already exists.
Sure.
For us, it was great. Like these families, they've owned their homes. They're just trying to get by. They work jobs. They're trying to make it. They're in that weird space of not quite considered middle class, but they're also not lower class.
Sure.
There's no program that helps them.
Sure.
There's no they could pay a handyman to do some work, but that person didn't do it right and it made it worse. And for us, it kind of just turned into, like, it started with one family, let's help them. Some of them, like the very first family we did, it was a woman who, crazy story. She had a criminal history. She had, I forget what she went to jail for. But she had kids. She got out. She was rehabilitated. While she was in jail, her oldest son was accidentally killed by a drive-by shooting. He was the one that was taking care of the family, keeping things together. She was in jail.
Yeah.
He was down the street at a friend's house. Some people in that home had some beef with some other people. Someone comes driving by, shoots up the house. No one's hurt except the kid that didn't even live there. Dies.
And he was the fucking rock at the house.
He was the rock at that, yeah. And
man, there's so many stories like that just piss me off.
And they own the house. They're trying to. It's just falling apart. And we come in and renovate it, put a brand new kitchen in it, fix them up. They didn't have bed. Like a couple of their kids didn't even have beds. They're sleeping on the floor. Stuff like that. And
it's the shit with kids that fucking kills me, man.
Yeah. Because I agreed.
Because I would suck a dick for my kids to eat food.
Sure.
And maybe that's not a popular opinion,
Yeah.
but like,
No,
you know,
I understand.
like,
It's
there's not a thing I wouldn't do.
correct. And it's the difficult thing, or maybe the easy thing when it comes to kids is that it's not their fault. They have no choice in the
No,
matter.
absolutely not.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you could quibble over the parents and all that. And even then I would still argue
No, shit happens.
it's not even the parents' fault necessarily because that parent was that kid at one point and
Sure.
it wasn't their fault and they
Sure.
don't know any different.
Sure.
Right? It's that
whole like
no one has helped them.
cycle
Yeah,
of
it's a cycle.
fucking cycle of shenanigans.
Right. And so yeah, for me, when it came to that, like I literally that very first one, I'm not gonna name the name of the furniture company locally,
don't.
their big name. I literally was on the phone. It's a Saturday. They had promised some furniture that they did not come through on. Sunday is when this family comes home. There's gonna be news media there. Saturday, we have no beds. You told us you were gonna give us beds. You were donating beds. Where are they? We went to pick them up. You gave us other stuff. I'm on the phone with the CEO.
Yeah.
On a Saturday. I can hear his kids in the background at home yelling for him. And literally said to this guy, look, this family's coming home tomorrow. I know of 3 news stations that are going to be there when they come home. And when they walk in that house and they ask me why there's no beds
what
in these
story
rooms,
do you want?
I'm going to tell them one of 2 things.
Sure.
It's essentially what I did. I went like,
Yeah.
what story do you want me to tell them?
Yeah, what story you want?
Because if there's no beds, I'm going to have no
Dude,
problem. I'm going to
atta
say,
girl. Get it, boy.
your name's getting mentioned one way or the other.
Sure.
And it's either such and such donated these beds,
Part of this feel-good story?
or
yeah.
there's no beds in this room because such and such didn't have the time.
Couldn't be
told
bothered.
us they were donating beds and then didn't do it.
Couldn't be bothered.
Couldn't be bothered. And I'm talking to you on your personal cell phone number, and I'm gonna give that reporter your personal cell phone number,
So they can follow
them
up.
to call you.
To follow up on the why.
and
Yeah.
I'll say your number on that news story.
Yeah.
And
Sure as shit.
he was like, "I'll give me a minute. I'll call you back in a
Hold,
few minutes."
please.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, okay, you're cool with a 9-year-old sleeping on the floor.
Yeah. No,
I'm not.
I'm not. No.
No, now people would argue, well, they got a roof over their head. Yeah. But we're talking
Fuck
about
you.
dignity.
Again, that's a dickhead thing.
Right. We're talking about
Such a dick.
dignity for humanity.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. People don't have to get everything handed to them. And that's the thing is people would look at like, oh, you're just doing it all for them. No, we don't. We do the things that they can't get done themselves. And then you know what happens?
Sure.
This is a wild thing. We don't fix everything on their house.
Sure.
We did a home where we fixed a lot of stuff. We left some of the rooms as is. We put new beds in them, but we didn't paint them. We didn't paint the closets, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
We left the excess paint. I came back a few days later because we had to like grab some other stuff. Came to check on them. Bro, these people had already they had their kids already painted those bedrooms on their own.
Right.
They had friends down the street that gave them furniture. They had those kids moving that furniture into those rooms.
And that's what hope does.
Correct.
Hope is contagious.
Exactly. And what
It's
I
like,
learned in that,
life is never going to be this way, and all of a sudden somebody hands you this beautiful, free,
Yeah.
no obligation, and that's what grace is, and that's what
Yeah.
Christianity is
Correct.
supposed to be.
yeah.
And
Listen
good
to
for
this.
you, man.
This particular family, that I remember a person in that particular house. We had a plumber come and they were telling us like the sink wasn't working. Plumber comes and doing their work and whatever. Come to find out, this particular sink that they were complaining about, literally it was just the cap on the tip of the spigot
yeah.
that needed to be changed out.
Sure.
That's why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I remember this person going like, why didn't they just change that? Like such a simple thing. And I was like, right. Well, what you're not taking into account is that
Can I talk to you for a second?
yeah, this single mom,
Come here, dickhead, for just
right.
1 second.
This single mom is coming home every day to literally a hole in the roof.
Yeah.
She does not have a bedroom
Yeah.
because there is a hole in the roof with a tarp hanging over it. She's been sleeping on the couch for years because of it.
Yeah.
You think she's going to be able to take the time to focus on excuse my language,
Yeah.
fucking tip of a
Yeah.
faucet on the sink?
Yeah.
And
Perspective,
what
man.
is perspective.
Yeah, people don't have
That's the family
it.
that when we corrected all these things that were beyond their control, that's the family that was kids are painting their rooms.
Yeah.
They're cleaning up. They're cleaning out these closets that just like moldy clothes, things like that. It gave them the ability to step over that hump to do the things that they could do.
Right.
My argument of Hope for Homes has always been good people are what change neighborhoods. And if we can give a good family in a neighborhood a step over the hump, they are going to multiply that. Exactly what you said. Hope is contagious. When they have some hope, that hope becomes contagious in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's like if we just took a little bit of a beat and went, oh, it's within my power to help, I can do that.
Yeah.
Or I can call someone. I know someone that can fix that. Let me call them right now
Right.
to help. Like you said, there's a person down the street. But when we see it is in disaster. When a natural disaster happens, suddenly, because now we're all on equal footing.
Now we need everybody needs
everyone
everybody.
needs everyone.
Yeah,
Exactly.
selfishly.
Exactly. Right.
Selfish, yeah.
We're
It's the-
reminded.
Right. It's the selflessness part that matters. That's the core, right?
Yeah.
That's the of a person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
what happens when you don't need it.
Yeah.
Who are
Right.
you when you don't need it?
Correct. Yeah.
Right? Because when we need it or when we want to, we're, our representative
very
comes
generous,
out. Our
right.
representative comes out and tells you
Uh-huh.
we're so this and
Yeah.
oh my God, and this is what I think. And it's like, no, but let me taste it. Who are you really? Right? Yeah, you're
And I would
you're
argue
an asshole.
that we all
But not you, Charlie. You're not an asshole.
are equal parts the best of society and the worst of society. It's all with equal parts within all of us. It's the little nudges here and there throughout our life. It's the experiences. It's the various things that push us in different directions. It's the natural disasters. It's whatever it is.
the
It's
crisis.
the introduction. It's the crisis.
Yeah.
The introduction to a need.
Sure.
All of us have the ability to be the worst of us.
Sure.
And we also, all of us have the ability to be the best of us.
There's a theme about you, you piece of shit. That's so from Laundry Project to the homes for Hope for Homes.
Yeah.
and then Affordable Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is it's exhaustingly graceful and beautiful.
Thank you.
You're a dick. You make me feel like you make me feel like an asshole. I think that there's so much that I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's so much that I expect, maybe even like from any government official that I expect in some sort of naive, pure, it comes from a pure place of like ownership and responsibility and fucking, I don't know, honesty and integrity and all the things.
Yeah.
And I think that what the last 10 years, maybe longer, but the last 10 years has taught me personally is that none of these motherfuckers know what they're doing. All these motherfuckers say all the shit they're gonna say, and all these motherfuckers are gonna do what these motherfuckers are gonna do.
Yeah.
And we're here to just toe the line and pick up the pieces and make it. We make it work or don't work. We are the ones that do it.
Yeah.
You're doing real hope. We put false hope in people and places I've never been and rooms I'll never sit in. Casting votes that may or may not make a difference. Only to come to the realization that it's on us, man.
Yeah.
If you want real change, you said something in one of your things, and I wrote it down, so I'm just going to kind of go back there. No, not Pastor had already said that. Okay, don't change the world, change your world.
Yeah.
Right? And I might be paraphrasing, but you said something like that.
Yeah,
like our community, and I think
Change
that's what all this
do
shit's
what you
about.
can to change the world of the person in front of you. You can only do what you can do. But if each of us does not do what we can do, the world doesn't get any better. We don't fix things. We don't make things. Like right now, you're right. Can't fix. All of that stuff is too big for us.
Too
It's
big.
not my job. I'll never be in that room.
Yeah, make it smaller.
Yeah,
Boss,
yeah,
and he's
yeah.
fucking
Yeah, make the
panicking
world
and
smaller.
Make the world smaller, dude.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, make the world smaller. Exactly.
Fuck
That's,
yeah. It's
right.
so simple.
Yeah, it's and where I got it from originally
Yeah.
is from incredible human being that not a lot of people know about. Her name is Somali Mom.
Okay.
She is a Cambodian woman that was a survivor of sex trafficking as a Cambodian child. She was rescued as an adult, became one of the most prominent rescuers of Cambodian sex trafficked girls. Wrote a book. There's a point in the book where part of it's like an interview where she is basically recorded this interview that she had, and this person asked her, "What's it like to change the world?"
Right.
And her answer was so profound. Her answer was, "Oh, I don't think I can change the world. I don't even try.
Yeah.
I simply," and I'm paraphrasing, "I look at the life that's in trouble right in front of me,
Sure.
and I try to help that child." And that was her answer. It was like, "Oh, I can't change the world. I don't even try to change the world. I just try to help the life of the child that's right in front of me that is in trouble."
And how fucking more impactful would we all be?
Mm-hmm.
So what's so crazy about about you and what you do is the real tangible impact every fucking weekend or every fucking house project
Yeah.
or every fucking Christmas. It's tangible
Yeah.
and it's real
Yeah.
and it's achievable.
Yeah.
You know?
Hope is tangible. We talk about hope and it's kind of an intrinsic like this kind of weird, like ethereal thing that we talk.
Sure.
Hope is tangible. Hope
Very
is
tangible.
exactly what you talked about. Hope is going to your neighbor and going, "Oh, you need this fixed and you don't have the ability to do that? I'll fix it. Oh, you know
Right.
what? I know a guy. Let me call them." That's hope. That gives that person hope. That's tangible.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
doing what we can do.
Whereas all this other shit, and again, I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't worry about national global issues, right? You should be informed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that I think that we're so concerned about here
Mm-hmm.
that we'll never fucking fix here
Yeah. Yeah. We forget.
because we forget the power of here,
Right. Yeah.
right? Like the real power is happening here, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, and I think that, like, how do we get back to that? Obviously, you figured out here.
This is my way.
You
Yeah.
figured out here.
Yeah.
Right? I love this. I love your heart.
Mhm.
I love your mission. I'd like
Yeah.
to give.
Yeah.
Is the money really going where it needs to go?
Sure. Yeah.
And what's the criteria specifically about the homes? Like, how do you pick which homes you're going to help? Laundromats make sense. You're fucking here.
Yeah.
You use this. There's
Yeah.
no red tape. It's
Yeah.
like,
So
here's the money.
I'll
We're
give
going
you
to do it.
I'll give you an answer for not just Hope for Homes, but also Affordable Christmas.
Sure.
So Hope for Homes, there's literally I think a 12-page application
Okay.
that a family has to fill out.
Yeah.
It's an exhaustive application.
Sure.
So the families that we've done that for, it's either they themselves have had to fill it out or a representative of theirs, like a church that they attend or a community group, someone on
vouch.
their behalf vouched for
Vouches.
them and
Sure.
like filled out this application. And it's a lot. It's extensive. It's
Yeah.
like, it's things like, legal stuff about their home, if there's liens on the home, if there's any if there's criminal records in the family, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a vetting process.
There's a vetting process. Now, to be honest, that it's if you make it through this entire thing and you send everything in that is required, really none of those are disqualifiers. Even clearly the very first one we did is a criminal record. That doesn't disqualify you. We just want to know all that stuff because we want to know the story. For us, it's a little more like, great, you have a criminal record. What now? That was then. What's now? Is that still the case? Have you made it past that? Are you recovering? Are you?
And why does that matter to the organization?
A couple things. Part of it's legal.
Sure.
Part of it's for me personally, I want to know that. So if someone comes along, they start digging, and they go, "Hey, do you know this person has a record?" Yeah, of course I know.
Yeah, you don't want to be surprised.
Right.
Because you're doing a bunch of PR, you're the
Right.
face of this thing.
Yeah.
And you want to just,
And-
you don't care. It's not a
No.
judgment.
Correct.
It's just preparation.
Correct. And I want to be in a position of, I'm going to change the narrative of your story. If they ask that question, I'm going to change the narrative.
Right.
Yeah. What does it matter that they have a criminal record?
Yeah.
Because
So they don't deserve this,
because
you
that,
dick?
right, because that was 5
Right.
years ago,
Right.
and they've done the work to be better now.
Sure.
Great, you got them. They had a criminal record.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
they should.
How do you
they
feel?
don't deserve
Right.
help.
Sure.
It's the same thing as
It's
like,
good. Just getting ahead of it.
yeah. I had an argument.
PR, dude. It's
I had-
all PR.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
an argument with one of the home projects years ago with one of the sponsors they were bitching about. We had to rip up the floors, and they had committed to redoing the entire floor. Like, when I say the floors, not just like are we pulling the tiles up and putting down new, like down to the structure of the floor. They had
Sure.
to rebuild the entire structure. Turns out it was worse than they thought. So they were giving me a hard time about like we needed more lumber for this. It's
we didn't
more than
sign
we
up for
thought. We
this.
didn't sign up
Yeah.
for this. And they were like, "Who's going to pay for the extra lumber?" And I was like, "Well, you guys are, because you're a multi-million-dollar company that committed to fix the floors." And they were like, and they literally was like $500 worth of money that they were arguing over.
Right.
And what tripped me
Yeah.
was they used the statement, "Well, we got throwaway wood. Like, they're getting this for free. They should be thankful for that." And that's what threw me. And I went,
Like, oh, motherfucker.
yeah, I literally like, "All right, gloves are off
Yeah.
now, buddy."
You motherfucker.
And you call yourself a Christian company?
Yeah.
Great. We're about to have
Yeah.
a conversation.
Oh, we're about to throw down, dude.
yeah.
You know I went to seminary school, right?
So I said, and I said something in the effect
Pieces
of
of
like,
monkey shit.
I went, "Oh, so because they're poor and black in a predominantly black neighborhood, they should just be thankful for what you, the white
for the
person, gave
scraps.
them?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're trying to call us race? Are you trying to say I'm racist?" And I went, "I'm not trying to say it. I am saying it."
Yeah. You've said it.
And I was like,
Yeah.
"Listen, let me school you on our philosophy. If it's not good enough for your own family, is this how you would do it for your kids in your home? If the answer is no, then it shouldn't be good enough for them.
Right.
We don't
Here's
do
the
charity.
standard.
We don't do charity that way.
Right.
Charity to me means if it's not good enough for my own family, it's not good enough for their family.
Right.
If I wouldn't do it for my own kids, my own family, it shouldn't be that way for them." And literally, his general contractor had to get
You picked his jaw up.
got in the way. I was like, "Oh, we'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it."
He
kinda thing.
understood the
And I
fucking
was like-
implications.
I was like,
yeah.
"Listen, I will physically fight you in the middle of this kitchen in these
Yeah.
people's home.
Yeah.
You're not going to stand here."
Right.
And they did it. But for me, it's, I want to know all of this information because I know people coming into this are going to have questions. They're going to come in with bias. They're going to come in with preconceived ideas about why your home is in disrepair. I want to know everything because I want to change your narrative to them.
Sure.
I want that multi-million-dollar Christian-owned company
Right.
that's going to look at it like, "Oh, you should be thankful that you're just getting scraps." No, absolutely not.
Right.
That's not the Jesus way. You're a
Right.
Christian. That's not what Jesus would do. You think that's how Jesus would handle this situation? I don't think so.
Yeah, just, here you go.
Right.
Just,
Like-
what is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like no. That's why we want to know that kind of information.
There.
I want to help change the narrative of your story.
Yeah.
With Affordable Christmas.
Yeah.
The families that come to Affordable Christmas are invited by community organizations that are already working with those families. They know their stories. They know their financial situation. And for me, that's not because we want to make sure that they need this. It's the opposite. It's that I want to make sure that this family, even though they maybe are only going to be spending $30 on gifts for their kids,
Yeah.
that $30 is also not going to break them. They're
Sure.
not sacrificing something else to spend that $30
Right.
because we have set this up so that $30 of like those 6 or 8 items that they have bought for their kids, retail would cost them $300. If they were spending $300, they were definitely going to sacrifice a bill or something. I want to make sure that $30 is not also going to break them, because if that's the case, we need to do something else for them.
Sure.
This is for the family that, yeah, I've got 2 kids. I can't afford $100 for Christmas for them without not paying my light bill or not paying my water bill. Great. You're going to be able to pay all your bills. You have an extra $30. You can afford that. Great. Let's get you some brand new unused gifts that your kids are going to love that you picked out.
Right. And you're paying for.
You're paying for, and it's within your budget.
Well, and that was the shit, Jason, that blew my mind many years ago. The first, again, it's like several minds blown, like Kurt Cobain. But like with hope, though, I lived through it.
Oh my gosh.
But affordable Christmas legit blew my mind.
Yep.
Continues to blow my mind because coming from church, church background, it's just like, oh, I get it. We're just going to give them, these people are struggling, and we're just going to fucking, Santa Claus them.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's not what affordable Christmas is.
No. So here's the thing.
It's crazy. It's brilliant. I love it, and I never got it.
Yeah. I wish I could take credit for the idea. It's not my idea.
Yeah, you could. It's just us.
But, yeah, right.
What the hell is that? Fuck it.
It's
gone. I'm trying to get rid of it. Did you see it though? I'm not tripping, right?
I see it. No, it's a hair floating in the air. Yeah.
I got it.
You got it.
All right. Miyagi that shit. Anyway. Not on my set.
Yeah. It's again, dignity and empowerment, right? So I think charity oftentimes happens without considering the dignity of the person receiving the charity.
Sure.
We tend to go, I identify a problem. I have a solution to that problem. I'm going to provide the solution. What we don't do, especially in nonprofit world and church world, we don't take the time to take the next step and go, is how we are about to provide that solution dignifying and empowering to the people receiving it? I remember specifically we did Christmas for some families, and we did this pseudo angel tree type of thing. We had these families. We got their Christmas list, what their kids wanted specifically. People in the church took a kid's name and an item. They went and bought it. They gift wrapped it. It was a surprise to these families. They show up to church that Sunday. We invited them to this special thing. Here's all these families showing up to church. They've got these hidden Christmas gifts under their chairs or under the pew, whatever.
Oprah Winfrey did shit you
yeah,
get a
basically.
Fucking,
Right. Brought these families to the front, in front of the stage, and then, hey, we're going to, Christmas carols and stuff, and here come all these people, these strangers, with, all right, Justin, you're there with your wife, and here's your kid standing in front of you, and here's this wrapped gift for your son. Stranger handing it to your son. Open it up. It's wrapping paper everywhere. Kid's going nuts. Oh my God, I got this Sega, whatever it is. And here's a dad standing behind their kids, watching a stranger hand this gift to their kid that they could not provide for their kid.
Right.
In
front of everybody.
In front of everybody. And at the time, not recognizing what was happening.
Right.
Years later, doing Affordable Christmas, still not having the language for it, understanding the heart behind it. The very first project, Affordable Christmas, that we did, was a single dad that shopped. I just happened to be the person walking him out to his car with his gifts. I'm pushing a bicycle that he bought for $10, a brand new, unused bicycle, retail for $80, $90 at the time. And I asked him, I just happened to ask him, hey, who's the bicycle for? He's like, oh man, my son, man, he's made good grades, blah, blah, blah. He's bragging on his son. And he goes, the one thing that my son asked for Christmas this year was a bicycle. And I had to tell my son, don't get your hopes up because dad can't afford that this year. And then I got invited here and I got to buy this bike. He's like, I know you're not going to believe it. I've seen this exact bicycle at Walmart. I know how much it cost. I thought to myself, that's the perfect bicycle for my son. I come here, I get to buy this bicycle, $10. It's inside my budget. And this is the words he said to me. Now I get to go home and be the hero to my son. And in that moment, took me back years earlier, standing in a church, watching these people and realizing we took Justin out of the hero spot to his son, and we made this random stranger the hero to his son, rather than creating a scenario where how can Justin be the hero to his son?
Be the man.
Yeah.
Be the dad.
Yeah. And the message that sends to his son.
Yeah.
And it just all in that moment hit me.
It's just all.
Oh my God, you're right.
Holy
You
shit.
should be the hero to your kid,
Yeah.
not me,
Yeah.
not these people. You should be able to go home and look at your son in the face
Yeah,
and
dude,
say, I got this for you.
Man, Jason.
It's the hand up. It's
Right.
the over the hump.
Yeah, dude, I never thought about that. It's so humbling, and it's so it embarrasses me for all the times I have. I'm sorry, brother.
There you go.
For all the times I have given, because I feel like
No.
I've given and
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
I
No,
didn't
I
give
get
for
it.
them.
Listen,
right?
I wish I could say I was that smart. I learned this from people that live that experience. I have
Sure.
some incredible people that I learned from that they grew up very poor. It was like one of the guys that I mentioned pushing the grocery cart. I learned from them the lived experience of receiving charity in an undignified way.
Right.
I will to the rest of my life, I'll give credit to that single dad. That I say it every time. That was not my language. That language came from that man. He said it to me. I get to be the hero to my son. I never would have thought about it that way had he not said it. I only know that because he said it to me, and that was his lived experience. And that changed my mentality. Oh, you're right. It's not about me. It's not pat myself on the back. It's you. You get to go home. I don't care if your son never knows the rest of his life how you got that. And I even asked him, what are you going to tell him when you get home? He's going to think you stole this bicycle. I literally said that to him. I was like,
Sure.
You told your son you can't afford it. You're going to come home with this brand new bicycle. He's going to think you stole it.
Yeah. Where'd you get this, Dad? Don't ask.
And here's what he said.
Yeah.
Here's what he said to me. He said two things that will stick with me forever. He said, number one, this bicycle is going to sit in front of the Christmas tree until Christmas Day. It's like 3 weeks until Christmas. He's like, this bicycle is going to sit under the Christmas tree until Christmas Day.
Sure.
He's going to appreciate it. He's going to have to look at it every day. He's not going to get to ride it until Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Number two, he said.
Oh, he didn't rewrap it?
It wasn't wrapped. It was a
Well,
bicycle.
he didn't wrap them.
No,
Sorry, he didn't wrap
no,
it.
he's like, no, it's going to sit there. And
Wait,
he's gonna
you're trying
see
to
it.
tell me y'all didn't fucking give him wrapping paper
Yeah,
to wrap
for
this
a
gift?
bicycle? No.
What kind of charity is this? No, I'm just joking. Yeah. No, bicycles are the worst
Yeah,
to wrap.
right.
It's
So there's that.
like,
And
just
then
put a bow on that shit.
Right. And then he goes, he literally said to me, I'm going to tell my son, God made a way for your dad to afford a bicycle. That's the story I'm going to tell him. And I went, fantastic. I don't care. He does not need to know anything about us, the charity that you got invited, and none of that.
Right.
I want your son to be able to look you in the eye and go, man, my dad came through for me.
Yeah.
Dad found a way.
Yeah.
Because that's going to change his life.
Until next Christmas. I'm just
Yeah. Like,
I'm just joking. Do you have any
the
repeat?
difference-
Do you have any repeat customers?
we try not to.
I'm just joking.
It's
Sure.
the hope that that dad found and that son found in that bicycle that will live forever in their lives and in their hearts.
You're not wrong. Have you ever wanted to quit? Like, I look at all these things that you're doing.
All the time. Yeah, all the time, man.
Why keep doing it?
Um,
Like, really? Don't give me the
great-
PR
no,
answer.
that's
Like,
that's a great
Jason, why
question.
you keep doing this, dude?
Because it's right, and it's right for me.
It seems like a good time to change. I want to jump over to, if you're okay with it, personal.
Yeah.
And we touched on it briefly, but I want to touch on it real quick. You're re-engaged. You've re-engaged marriage.
We are re-engaged.
Congratulations. So can we talk about it?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's talk
So first of all, am I invited?
Yes.
It's okay if I'm not,
Yeah.
but I should be.
Yes. You should be.
And more, should I get ordained and should I maybe pay it forward and take care of it?
No, absolutely
Who's doing it? Well, then, can I meet the person who's doing it?
not. Yes, you can.
All right. Is he taller than me?
Yes, he is.
Is he more handsome
He's
than
tall.
me? You son of
Oh,
a...
man, no, no.
You
No
got-
one's more handsome than you.
Oh,
honestly.
God bless.
Come on.
That's so nice to hear. Who's doing it?
A friend of mine named Michael LeBlanc.
Mm.
He is a.
He sounds dumb.
He is.
You should probably let me
he-
try it. Can I try out? What are tryouts look out for this thing? You remember in The Wedding Singer where like John Lovitz is doing like the
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Let me try. Can I try out?
No.
Cool. When's the date? When is it happening?
April of 2026.
I can't do it.
Well,
Can't-
sorry,
can't
sorry,
make
you
it.
can't be
Look,
there.
it makes sense that even if you wanted me to officiate, I just can't. You know, I'm washing my hair.
I get it. You're booked
Um,
up. Yes, we got engaged a couple weeks ago.
Exciting, shitty.
Yeah,
It's the best, dude. So it was just a couple weeks ago.
yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago.
So how did you ask? Tell me everything.
I'll give you the quick version. So the
No, I want the slow, long
Okay.
drawn. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
the ongoing joke for me
Yeah.
has been, I had proposed to you 6 years ago.
Yeah.
You already said yes. It's the same ring.
She
Yeah.
said yes.
Yeah,
You took her to the.
same
It looked
ring.
like the pictures were at the beach.
No, it was at a
Park.
So she loves hiking.
Sure.
She currently lives in Lakeland. There's a like a what do you call it? A nature preserve in Lakeland, hiking around lakes and that kind of stuff. She loves. Her family goes there. They go walking there a lot. I hate hiking, but I figured out.
I figured out how to do it without hating it.
I figured out a way
Yeah.
to get there to like, hey, let's go for a walk without her being suspicious of like, you hate hiking. Why do you want to go there? Worked out. So I'm on my way to Lakeland to meet her this night. It's not rained for months. Torrential downpour
Perfect.
that night. It's like hail on the way there.
Yeah. Metaphor.
And-
That's a metaphor.
Yeah.
For
So,
marriage.
Figuring out like, oh man, I've got it all planned with her brother and sister-in-law. They're like gonna like secretly be there and take photos and all this. And it didn't stop raining. I'm looking at the radar. We'd like let's just go. So we go there. We're in the parking lot. No one's there. It's still raining. And I just was like, well, I'm just gonna do it because it's taken so much work to get to this point anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care. Her brother's texting me secretly, and I was like, listen, if it doesn't stop raining, I'm just gonna do it in the parking lot and at the entrance to the hiking trail.
Right.
So anyway, literally got out of the truck. Her brother and sister-in-law pull in the parking lot because I was like, yeah, just come on, I'm gonna do it. They're pulling in, and I went, all right, I've got a surprise for you. She sees them pulling in. It's raining. I'm like, gotta get out of the truck. This is happening. So I literally proposed to her not in the parking lot itself, like at the entrance to the
Sure.
hiking spot. It's pouring down rain. Proposed to her. She says yes. Literally 10 minutes later, rain clears up, sun comes out, rainbow. There's no one else at this. There's a very busy nature preserve. No one else is there because it's pouring down rain. Clears up. And we go on a hike at sunset around the lake. And that's where all our pictures are from. And it's just us, no one else in the park except us and her family taking photos of us.
You
Yep.
ready for some reviews? I'm just
Yeah,
gonna wrap
let's-
this up real
yeah,
quick. Are you cool?
yes.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
wrap this
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Mandy Rutnick? So here's her
Remember the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
She goes, hey, this is from Mandy Rutnick. She goes, yes, still dealing with the emotional shrapnel. Jason, remember me? Flower, crown, sunburn, tears. You married me and Todd. Do you remember Todd? Behind a barn while reading something you swore was a Rumi poem, but I'm 99% sure it was a Yelp review for a smoothie place.
This is made up.
You wore a
You're making
vest
this
with
up.
no shirt under it, and
No,
it
this
said
is all- this
the
is all made
union is a vessel.
This
Todd
is made up.
Todd now lives in a van.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
This
So
is made
you
up.
told us marriage is a stop. You told us marriage isn't about perfection, it's about intention. Jason, I intended to have a husband. Instead, I got a man who thinks almond butter counts as protein and once tried to fix our relationship by suggesting we get matching tattoos that said frequency.
You made this up. I don't know what this is.
I hope every time you say bespoke ceremony, a woman somewhere gets a gut feeling
I've never
and
said
a
bespoke
rash. Wow,
ceremony
it's on
in
your
my life.
website. And I hope one day, she says, you have to sit through a marriage you officiated while they fight over who clogged the shower with crystals.
Okay. Yeah.
Fucking Mandy, what a bitch.
Yeah. I don't know
Anyway,
who that
okay,
is.
this one says her name's Tori. Okay.
I don't know a Tori.
Lake wedding. Do you remember a lake wedding?
Nope.
No parking?
No.
Okay. She says Jason said our relationship had the playful energy of dolphins. 6 months later, my husband, cheated on me at a Dave and Buster's. That's from her. That's from Tori. Emily says she was a rooftop wedding. She said Jason said our souls were already married in the stars.
I don't know.
That doesn't sound like you.
No.
But she says my husband now believes in aliens and Venmo'd his cousin $800 for a conspiracy retreat. We are getting divorced. So that's good. Kenzie, you remember Kenzie? She's a backyard wedding.
No.
She said Jason made us lock eyes and say, "I see you." The man I saw was already planning to leave me for a girl who owns 6 geckos and spells energy with 2 eyes. Do you remember Kenzie?
No.
Divorce. These are all ending in divorce, Jason. Here's another one. Jason said marriage is a canvas. She said mine is a finger painted in poop and regret. This is married by Jason. So here's another one. He had us light a candle to symbolize forever. It went out during the vows, and I should have fucking known what that meant. It was an omen. Here's another one. He told us to whisper one thing we love about each other. My husband said, "Your shoulders." And that lasted 4 months. You don't follow up with any of these fucking people?
No, I don't know any of these people.
This is another one. He described love as a river of trust.
That sounds like me. Yeah.
Yeah. Ours had piss stream and dead raccoons in it. Yeah. Okay. We did a wine box ceremony. Do you
Yeah.
remember? You
Yeah,
remember
that
wine
sounds
box
right.
ceremony?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
He drank the wine alone during our first dance. These are look. You've never looked at these reviews, man. They're all there. He quoted Harry Potter in her vows a lot. Is that you seem like
a lot?
And then she put unironically. Like, are you a Harry Potter guy? You seem like a Star Wars guy.
I'm a Star Wars guy.
Yeah, I
no,
should've known
I
you were a
only
Star Wars guy.
read things that people ask me to read in their weddings.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense. You know how these fucking
yeah,
reviews
I
are. They're
understand.
one-sided.
Yeah. It's like
This
Yelp
one's
reviews. Yeah.
yeah, it's
I get it.
bullshit.
Yeah.
They're all made up. It sounds like. My husband said we're twin flames, and Jason clapped. She said, I didn't know twin flames meant matching DUIs. What a bitch. Fuck you, lady. He wore a bow tie. This is one's fucking has to be real.
Okay.
He wore a bow tie and a feather in his hat and said marriage is a ritual.
Okay.
Have you
Nice.
thought about annulments? As like a side?
No.
I would, dude, bro. I think you're leaving cash on the table, bro. Like, you could just be like, hey, how's it going? Oh, not so good. Well, Jason, annulments by Jason.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
I'm not saying
I don't
like I
need that.
want this, but I'm just like, it's,
Sounds like you do.
The last one here says he fist bumped my husband after the kiss. And we weren't sure we weren't even sure if it was over. Like, they didn't know the ending. Like, when are you done? Because, like,
know when the wedding was over.
in all fairness, I made all these up.
Yeah, I know.
I spent a lot of time. I was
know.
up to like
Yeah,
3.
you did a great
just
job writing those.
bullshitting. I thought it was
You
funny.
got me with the first one. Here's the thing.
Yeah, Mandy
the,
Redneck.
The name, because
It feels like
I don't remember people's names.
No, why would you?
Yeah. And
Because how many weddings have you done?
hundreds.
Hundreds.
I don't know
believe
how
that.
many. Hundreds. Yeah.
As a hope dealer,
Sure.
is there not some sort of moral obligation to pre-qualify a couple?
No.
You don't give a shit. You just want that check.
No, it's not that. No, there's no moral obligation.
It feels like there's a moral obligation.
Who told you that?
Nobody. It's a feeling. Listen.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like Star Wars, my
Your
feelings
feelings-
betrayed me.
your feelings betrayed you. Got
me.
it.
Yeah, I'm just saying. No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it's your fault at all. What I'm asking, I guess, is the question is that like there used to be that saying when people does anybody object to this shit?
Sure. Here's my thing. So many
Shouldn't the
weddings
buck
I've
stop
done.
with you though? Like, be like,
No.
yo, y'all fucking suck. Don't
No,
do this.
definitely not. If the two of you should not be married, that's not my job as a third party to address that with you.
Right, you're not
I don't know.
clairvoyant.
I don't
How
know
the fuck
you.
would you
Right,
know?
I don't know you.
Sure.
If you two shouldn't be married, you have friends, you have family, you have people known you your whole lives that at this point should have told you. And if they haven't, that's on them and you. I don't know anything about you.
Hey man, so you've been rad.
So if
You're changing lives,
Yeah,
like really are.
yeah.
Right? You got a big thing coming up.
Yeah.
It's at Lincoln
Yeah,
Park.
June 23rd.
So let's start over. Hold on.
Linking
Jason,
Heights.
you love Lincoln Park. Hit me with it. No, let's do it one more time. Upcoming events for Jason
Yeah, yeah.
and Laundry Project
Yeah.
is Cocktails for a Cause at June 23rd.
Yeah.
And St. Pete at Lincoln Heights.
Linking Heights.
Talk to me about this event. Are you excited? or
Yeah,
what?
very excited. It's Nosotros Tequila and Mezcal. They are sponsoring it. They 50% of all their cocktail sales going to the Laundry Project.
Nice.
10% of everything else from Linking Heights that night is going to the Laundry Project. They've got some games and prizes, things like that. People can donate towards a raffle off to get some prizes and stuff. That all goes to the Laundry Project. It helps us do more laundry projects in St. Pete.
Sure. And this is how you raise a lot of the money for Laundry Project.
Yeah, that's one of the ways. Yeah, it's people like you. It's people. It's companies. It's small businesses. People that sponsor. It's things like this. Yeah, companies are willing to host fundraisers like this.
Sure.
And yeah, that's what we got.
So
that's what we got
come
going
out,
on.
drink some drinks from 6 to 10 at Lincoln Heights.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And, keep blessing people. And I
absolutely.
hope as you've blessed people that you're blessed.
I am. I
And
sleep well at night.
And I hope that your marriage is blessed.
Thank you.
It would be so blessed if you let me. I'd be blessed, and you'd be blessed if you let me officiate. Just
If
talk
I
to
let you
Danielle.
bless it?
Just talk to Danielle. Ask Danielle what she thinks, okay? Before you say no, think about it. Don't say no right now. Just think about it.
I will ask her. Yeah.
Just think about it.
I will.
I feel like
I'll
you're
put
rushing
it on
this.
the
I'm
list.
like, I'm not rushing this. I could be available that date. I'd have to check with my wife.
I'm
But
just saying.
I might
I'll
move
have-
some things around.
I'll have the conversation.
Just don't say no. Look, you've been
I'm not
saying no
saying
your
no.
whole life. Say yes.
I'm saying I'll have the
Say yes.
conversation.
I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
I 100% believe that.
I can't promise you that you won't be embarrassed. You've been rad, dude. I appreciate your time.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, man.